Walking forward, my journey of recovery and healing. Almost 21 years ago, I found myself at a crossroads. My life had spiraled out of control due to alcohol and drug addictions. These substances became masks for the pain, shame, guilt, and fear that consumed me. My struggles began in childhood when the cards dealt to me were far from kind. The physical and emotional abuse left me feeling small and unworthy, teaching me to doubt myself and question my value. As I grew older, those wounds deepened. Betrayals by people I trusted, compounded by infidelity in relationships, left me broken. Each betrayal felt like a confirmation of my deepest fears that I wasn't enough. I blamed myself for believing things might have been different if I had been smarter or more lovable. That self doubt seeped into every aspect of my life. I wore a mask of strength, but inside I was crumbling. Alcohol and drugs became my escape, silencing the voice in my head that constantly reminded me of my perceived failures. What began as social drinking quickly escalated into experimenting with other substances. Before I knew it, they had taken over my life. The people I surrounded myself with were only reinforced my downward spiral. I watched as some of my so called friends, women I once laughed and partied with, lost everything to addiction. They ended up living in the park. At 50 years of age, I could see myself heading down the same path, and it terrified me. I wasn't ready to give up on myself. Not yet. That moment of clarity gave me the courage to take the first step. After going to counseling and being unable to rid myself of my addictions, I walked into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, scared but desperate for change. My first meeting was a church basement where nearly 300 people had gathered to celebrate a woman's 40 years of sobriety. As I sat in that chair, overwhelmed by fear and shame, I saw something in the people around me: hope, strength, and the possibility of a better life. At first, I resisted. Accepting that I was an alcoholic was not easy, and AA is certainly not on my vision board for life. But as I listened to others share their stories, I realized I wasn't alone. I began to follow the suggestions of those who walked this path before me. Slowly, I made changes. I distanced myself from toxic friends and avoided the places I called my watering holes. I attended more readings and immersing myself in the program. The more I showed up, the less I wanted to escape into the destructive habits that had controlled my life. By working the 12 steps, I began to confront the pain I spent years running from. The fear and shame and guilt that had weighed me down started to lift. One of the most challenging and significant steps in my journey was finding a sponsor. My sponsor became the person I could confide in, someone who listened without judgment and guided me through the steps. They loved me when I couldn't love myself. With their support, I reconnected with my higher power and rediscovered my gifts and passions. Recovery wasn't easy, but it was worth it. Through this process, I learned to love myself again, to see my worth, and to live a healthier, happier life. Today, I continue to walk forward because I'm not designed to walk backward. I now guide other young women on their paths to recovery, sharing the hope and strength I found in those church basement meetings. The sun shines brighter in my life now. The scars of my past remain, but they no longer define me. They are reminders of the strength and it took to overcome, the courage to change, and the beauty of a life rebuilt with love, faith, and hope.